Hey, old Pistol here from the You Can't Handle the Truth Sports podcast. Another fantasy update here, this time for round five, and a bit of a recap, and then we'll go into, a look ahead to round six and what you could potentially be looking at for your trades for this week. So, recap for round five. The top five scores this week were Sheasel, he had a 159, just had the ball on a string there. Noah Anderson, 154. Brad Hill, uh, every now and then, probably once a year he does this, he got a 150. I'll speak more about him a bit later. Max scored 149. We all know what Max is going to do. And a bit of a surprise there. Jake Warnerman from West Coast kicked a big bag, 148. He's not really fantasy relevant, but it was a pretty good game by him and West Coast, to be honest. A bit of an improvement from previous weeks and seasons. Lowest break evens now that week's over. You got Closey from the Suns, he's negative 37. Will Graham, he's defender, midfielder, negative 29. Drury from North on the back of a 101, he's now negative 26. I think most of us had him last year and he had that, I think 40 on debut or something like that, and then got injured and sat on our pine for most of the year as our red dot. Lafau from the Tigers, he's minus 19, but just be wary this week, he's on the bye, so he'll be a potential selection if you need a downgrade target for next week, or the following week. Nyon, I think that's how you say it, from North Melbourne. Played in defence, he's listed as a forward, but he's got a negative 14 break even. The highest break evens now, so these are guys that are premiums that you shouldn't be looking at the moment. Their average might be okay, but they've had a low score built into their rolling average. So Tom Green, 159, Sarong, 159, English, 157, Oliver, 155. He's also on his bye and he's had finger surgery, so he's a definite miss for a while yet. And Parrish, I don't know how many have got him, if any, but he needs to go. He's 148 for a break even. Top five averages for the year so far. Walsh, after his one game of 145, so he's leading the pack, and then down to Sheasel, 129. He's probably going to be your number one defender. It's probably going to take a bit for even Nick Dacos to catch him. Maxi Gorn, 122. Steele from the Saints, 121. He's actually got a break even at 98, so not the worst selection if you're looking for a target there. I think he's still 900 and something, 980. Heaney, 119. So probably downgrade targets, which everyone's pretty keen on this week. I've done the top five rookies. I've actually made the top six in the end. Squeezed another one in there, under 350k to trade in. So you got Closey, who I mentioned before. He's 339k, minus 37 break even, averaging 94. He's just get him in. Same with his teammate Will Graham. He looks to have kicked Flanders out of the midfield, who's gone to half back, and he's 327k, negative 29 break even, and averaging 83. He's another one to bring in this week. Drury, mentioned him also before, 257k, negative 26 break even. He's probably going to get games now, along with the next guy, Nguyen, who's 244k, negative 14 break even, averaging 83 from that one game. He's playing in defence. He's listed as a forward. He's going to see a lot of the ball in North's defence. It's just going to be how that is for the North side this year. So he's probably one to get in by that 244k. Garcia from the Saints, not a bad game. Sub-affected, 53 on debut. Break even of 5. He had a heap of tackles in that 53, so he doesn't need possessions to score well. And he seemed to be one of the ones that was helping in that Saints come from behind where they almost got up. And the sixth one I'm going to throw in is Kai Lohman Zach Bailey's now out for 4 to 6 weeks with an ankle issue. Um, so he's probably going to be the benefit now. He's had 3 sub-affected games so far. So round 0, he had 36% time on ground for a 28. Round 1, 37% time on ground for a 23. And then round 3 was 20% time on ground for an 18. He then plays full games in round 4 and 5 for a 78 and 74, respectively. He's 314k. He's got a break even of 0. He's going to average 70 plus, which would be good cash gen. I think he's definitely one to get in. Mid prices to look at. So Tom Powell, I'm still classifying him as a mid pricer. He's still 742k. He's made cash already, but he's averaging 99. Break even of 51. He's not only going to make you cash, but there's a potential there. He could be a top 6 forward come into year, so he could be just about a set and forget if he keeps going the way he is. Bonner, averaging 92, break even of 60. Yeah, he's on the pricier side. He's not going to be a top 8 mid, but if he gets a rookie off the field, then I'd do it. Horn Francis, if he gets the forward DPP, keep an eye on him. 689k, he's averaging 91. But yeah, if he gets that forward, not as a mid only, no, but if he gets that forward status, he could be going top 6 forward if he gets that. Brad Hill, 718k. I mentioned before, he had that 150 last week. He started poorly in round 1. He's got midfield and forward DPP, which is handy given the lack of options. Powell and Horn Francis would be ahead of him if you don't have him, as is the next guy, Baker. But if you are looking for someone, a bit of a pod point of difference, then Brad Hill might be the guy. You've got a lot of runners that are injured at the moment for the Saints, and he seems to be the one with the ball in hand. Baker, who I just mentioned, he's on his bye this week, but he's already got defender and forward status, which is handy. He's got a low break even of 53. Potential to be a top 6 forward. Disregard the round 0 score of 46, and he's averaging 98, which puts him right up there with the top forwards. So some premiums to look at if you're in upgrade mode. So Walsh, a lot of people were looking at him even before his first game last week. 886k, coming off the big 145. He's got a low break even of 73. If you can get him in, get him in. Simple as that. Zeri, it's probably out of him, and also Sherry, it's probably out of him and Marshall for the ruck 2 spot. Sherry's 242k cheaper, so I know which way I'd go. One here which a lot probably will not even look at, with Zorko. Not sure I can pull the trigger myself, but with his injury history, but he's DPP mid forward, averaging 106, break even of 83. If he keeps this up, he's a top 6 forward. Fantasy comes down to risk and reward, and this could be by far the riskiest pick in your side if you go for it. But if you don't risk it, you don't get the biscuit. Flanders, still priced low enough if you haven't got him. Goulden had his buy now, 930k, break even of 104. I'd expect him to stick to at least that until the end of the year. It's probably going to be the cheapest you're going to see him. So no issue getting him in if you want to upgrade. Noah Anderson might be a bit of a point of difference here, averaging 117. He's probably not flying under the radar anymore. Still under the mill at 973. He's got a good roll, as he always does. So he's definitely one there. But there's quite a few Suns that we're looking at. So it's just a matter of how many you actually want in your side. Now, I've got a bit of a section here of what to do with. So I'm in the boat holding Newcomb. He's averaging 69, break even of 109, and realistically he could be dropped by the Hawks this week. He's been pretty ordinary. Mind you, so have the rest of the Hawks side. So Sam Mitchell might dictate this one for me. There's a thought that Will Day coming back next week we can hold. We'll see what happens considering he's already lost a lot of cash. Do we just hold him and see what happens with Will Day coming back in? Because I mean, he's already lost all that cash, so what's a little bit more in reality? McKercher went to hospital with that rib injury, but it's good news. He's back this week. But from a fantasy point of view, he's got a break in of 87 now, and his cash gen's pretty much over. So he's one that you can downgrade there. Salem, injury plus the high break even at 140 and on his bye. It's time to cut your losses. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks at least. So Oliver, same as Salem, not as bad on the injury front. It's a minor. I think he had finger surgery, but it's on the minor end. He'd have a test next week. On the bye this week, 804K. It wouldn't take much to get to Walsh if you wanted to trade him out if you've got him. Dawson, a lot of people have been talking about getting him out. He doesn't look like he did last year. He's coming off a 60, which isn't great, but he's tongued up 3 times previous to that, and I think he had a 130 in amongst that. But basically, the golden rule is don't trade your premiums. He's a hold. Nick Dacos, almost at the buy stage for me. Still a break even on 131 with that 6. So he's got that 61 built in from round 2. He's one I'm going to look at either next week or the week after, just see how he goes in these 2 weeks. So what a difference a week makes. So last week's video, I told you guys to go with a Bont or Brayshaw if you're upgrading, and then both turned around and had shockers with 53 and 78 respectively. So if you have them, then you hold them, and if you don't, you're probably going to wait a few weeks now. They've got high break evens. So you wait for that price to drop again. Riley Sanders selected for this week's game, but he's mentioned last in the change. I think we know what that means. Subvest, and we know Bevo loves to sub him, and he was not happy about it last week, young Riley. And I'm expecting he's going to get the vest to start with. It's got a break even of 50. He doesn't have a lot of cash gen left. He may not get that 50 this week, so you can always downgrade Sanders over McKercher. Back to McKercher, I guess. He's available for selection this week. He may not get up, so you roll the dice. Sanders is named, so you got the green dot there. Just one or the other, I guess. If it's me, I'm trading Sanders this week. Injury news. So, sort of fantasy relevant injury news. Won't go through everyone that's injured out there, but as mentioned before, Zach Bailey, he's out, so that opens the door for Kyle Lohman. Chera, hamstring, he's got a 1 to 2 week time frame, so that seems to be at the minor end. I think he was a late withdrawal last week. But he's a trade if you have him. That 1 to 2 week timeline being a hamstring, it could go to 3 or 4. Darcy is a test again for Freo, so it's a big watch on what happens with Jackson and his scoring. So if you have Jackson, it's a bit of a watch just to see what his scoring is like. I honestly think it won't change too much. I think what he'll lose in tap work and possessions in that midfield there, he'll make up and goal scoring. Caniglio, he got off lightly with after it looked like he'd done an ACL, but he should only miss the 2 weeks. But he's a trade if you have him. Will Day from the Hawks looking like he's back next week, so yeah, we'll see if he gets up. Probably won't select him straight off the bat anyway, but it'll probably help some midfielders around him, like in Newcomb and others. Oliver, as I mentioned, had finger surgery. He's a test, but he's got the bye anyway this week. Salem's a must trade, done a hammy, 4 to 6 weeks. Short from the Tigers, done a calf. No current time frame. They're on their bye this week anyway. By the sounds of it, it could be a month or more. So if you have him, he's a trade. Libba, It was a bit of a nasty incident there where he fell over in the middle of the ground, and the dogs were a bit blasé on what happened and blaming his ankle gave way or some shit. But yeah, he's now entered concussion protocols, and he'll miss this week's game against the Saints. And given the following week is a trip out west to face the Dockers, he may well miss that one as well, pending how he recovers from the concussion tests. So for me, if I had him, I'd trade him. Mainly if it's with concussion, it usually takes him a few weeks to get over it. Priority for me for this week for you guys should be one. If you have everyone making cash, as in no injured players on the bench, then it's time to upgrade. So trade a McCurchin down and a Sanders up, for example. If you have dead weight in the bench, then it might be a double downgrade as an option. While the bye weeks are on and it's best 18, or you can do it's your pick really. I'm going the double downgrade for me this week. So I'm going McCurcher to Graham and Seth Campbell to Nyon from the Kangaroos. That's it from me. If you've got any questions, queries, comments, give us a like and a share. I'm on Twitter, the Pistol17. I'm one half of the Youth Can't Handle the Truth Sports podcast. My offside of Rubbish, his handle is Rubbish YCH on Twitter there. We've got a podcast coming out tomorrow night, and stay tuned for that one. Until next time, cheers, guys.